All right, so it's 2026. You sit down at your desk, you crack your knuckles, you open your laptop. You are ready to do some serious, focused, life-changing work. You open your document, and then you check your phone. Just one notification. 45 minutes later, you're watching a video of a raccoon eating a grape, and your document says, "the." And you think to yourself, man, I wish someone would just fix my brain. Well, buckle up, buddy, because some guys in sandals figured this out 1,500 years ago, and they didn't need a podcast, they didn't need a Notion template, they didn't need a cold plunge. They needed a robe, a bell, and the absolute refusal to be bothered. Let's talk about monks. So, the year is roughly 529 AD. The Roman Empire has basically rage quit. Europe is what we in the business call a mess. Everyone is either invading, being invaded, or farming turnips while hoping nobody invades them. And this one guy, Benedict of Nursia, looks at all this chaos and says, you know what? I'm opting out. He goes up a mountain, writes a rule book, and basically invents the world's most extreme co-working space. He writes something called the Rule of St. Benedict. And if you think that sounds boring, I need you to understand this document essentially said, here is a schedule. You will follow it. Every day, forever. No exceptions. No, I'll start Monday. No, let me just check my emails first. You do the thing, then you do the next thing, then you sleep, then you do the thing again. And somehow, this became the most successful productivity system in Western history for 1,000 years. Silicon Valley could never. The rule had one core philosophy, ora et labora, pray and work. That's it. That's the whole brand. Two things. You pray and you work. You don't network, you don't optimize your morning routine, you don't spend 2 hours picking the right lo-fi playlist. You pray, you work, you go to bed. Repeat. And the key word here is stability. Benedict literally made monks take a vow of it. You don't get to wander, you don't get to say, actually, I think I'll try a monastery in the south. The vibe is better. Nope, you stay. You sit in the same chair, you do the same work every single day. And if you're thinking, that sounds miserable, I need you to remember that this system preserved basically all Western literature, philosophy, and science through the entire medieval period. Every ancient text you've ever heard of, some monk copied that by hand, one letter at a time, in a freezing room with a candle. Meanwhile, you can't focus long enough to read a terms of service agreement. Now, let's talk about the schedule, because this is where it gets truly unhinged. The monastic day was divided into 8 chunks called canonical hours, and they started at what I can only describe as an absolutely criminal hour. Matins, that's the first one, around 2 in the morning. 2 a.m. You are asleep. You are dreaming about a sandwich. And then, bong, 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 a bell screams into existence and you have to get up and chant psalms. And you can't hit snooze. There is no snooze. There is a bell, and there is God, and there is a very stern abbot who will absolutely make you do penance if you roll over. Every 3 hours after that, a bell, a prayer, a reset. And between those, work. Focused, silent, uninterrupted work. No meetings that could have been emails, no quick syncs, no Greg from accounting asking if he's seen his Tupperware. You, your task, and the crushing weight of divine expectation. And here's the thing that really gets me. The monks had a word for distraction. They called it acedia. And they didn't treat it like, oh, you're lazy. No, they treated it like a literal demon. They called it the noonday demon. And the idea was that right around midday, when you'd been working for hours, this demonic force would creep in and whisper things like, hey, maybe you should go look outside. Hey, maybe this work doesn't really matter. Hey, maybe you should go talk to Brother Thomas. He's funny. This manuscript is not funny. Hey, maybe you should just lie down for a bit, for spiritual reasons. And the monks were like, yes, the demon is here. Excellent. I will ignore him and keep writing. They had a name for the feeling of wanting to quit. They normalized it, they expected it, and they just kept going. Meanwhile, modern productivity culture acts like getting distracted is a personal moral failing. You just lack discipline. No, you're fighting a 1,000-year-old psychological battle, and a monk in the 5th century already wrote the playbook. You're welcome. And the environment, monasteries were basically designed as anti-distraction machines. Thick stone walls, silence was enforced, actual enforced silence. In many monasteries, if you needed to communicate, you used hand signals, like a medieval Slack channel, except you can't send a passive-aggressive thumbs-up emoji. The scriptorium, where they copied manuscripts, was a designated space for one task. You go in, you write, you leave. You don't go in there to socialize, you don't go in there to eat lunch, you write. And the physical layout, everything was segmented. Here is where you sleep, here is where you eat, here is where you pray, here is where you work. Your brain never had to context switch because the building did it for you. Compare that to your setup where you eat lunch at your work desk, take calls in your bedroom, watch Netflix in the kitchen, and try to write your novel in the same chair you play video games. Your brain doesn't know what it's supposed to be doing. A medieval monk's brain knew exactly what. And the actual work, insane. A monk might spend 10 to 15 hours a day copying text by hand, in Latin, with a quill. And if you made a mistake, you scraped it off with a knife and started the page over. There's no Control-Z, there's no autosave, there is you, the parchment, and the slow, grinding reality of your own mistakes. Some monks spent their entire adult lives on a single Bible. One book, one monk, 20 years. In silence, in the cold, by candle. And they didn't have a single YouTube video telling them to romanticize their workflow. Now, here's my favorite part. The monks also built in rest. And not I'll scroll my phone for 20 minutes rest. Actual, structured, non-negotiable rest. After the final prayer of the day, the monastery went into what was called the Great Silence. No talking, no working, no bells until morning. Just quiet, sleep, recovery. They understood something modern hustle culture completely ignores. You cannot do deep work if you never do deep rest. You are not a machine. You are a meat computer that needs to recharge. And if you don't schedule rest, your brain will schedule it for you, usually in the form of a 2 p.m. Tuesday where you stare at a wall for 40 minutes. The monks scheduled it. The rule demanded it. And it worked for a millennium. And okay, look, I'm not saying you should move into a monastery. I'm not saying you should wake up at 2 a.m. and chant psalms. I'm not saying you should take a vow of silence and communicate via hand signals with your coworkers. Although, for the record, that last one sounds incredible. But what Benedict figured out is shockingly simple, and it's the thing every productivity app, every life coach, every billionaire morning routine video is desperately trying to sell you for $49.99 a month. Remove the noise, protect the time. Do one thing, do it fully, rest fully, repeat. That's it. A bell, a wall, a task, and the stubbornness to not look away. The monks didn't have willpower hacks, they didn't have accountability partners, they had structure, an environment that made focus the default and distraction nearly impossible. And we, in our infinite wisdom, built a world where a glowing rectangle in our pocket can obliterate 8 hours of work with a single notification, and then we wonder why we're tired. So the next time you're fighting the urge to open a new tab, fighting the noonday demon whispering, "Hey, maybe check Reddit real quick," think of some guy in a scratchy robe hunched over a desk in the year 800 copying Virgil by candlelight. He's not doing it for content. He's not posting a time lapse on TikTok. He's just doing the work. And then the bell rings, and he stops, and he prays, and he comes back, and he does it again for 30 years. And we can't do it for 30 minutes. So, put the phone in another room, close the tabs, pick one task. Channel your inner monk. Minus the robe. Although, honestly, no pockets means no phone. Benedict was playing 4D chess. Go do your work. The noonday demon is watching, and he's very disappointed in you.